Beyond the Golden Gate Bridge awaits glorious Marin County, home to sweeping vistas, diverse cultures, and inspiring causes. Join us for Marinterviews, profiling people and projects, creating a meaningful impact in our community. All right, hi, welcome to Marinterviews. I'm Sandra Riley Grimshaw. We are showcasing yet another person and project making a difference in Marin County. With us today is Ray Kaliski of Harbor Point Charitable Foundation. I know so much about you. I am so glad to have you here. But let's start from the beginning. Harbor Point, how did that come to be?
Well, it was my brother's idea, Bob Kaliski, back in the fairly early 2000s. Had the idea to start a charitable foundation with some of the money that the family had, and and he started by creating a tennis tournament at Harbor Point, which originally it was called the Women's Classic Tennis Tournament, and then it morphed into the Esurance Classic tennis tournament when Esurance ponied up a significant amount of money to
those sponsors
to
can
sponsor
come in handy.
Yes, they do. So they got their name on it, and it was going on for I guess maybe 5 or 6 years, and the main beneficiary was To Celebrate Life Breast Cancer Foundation, who we still support to this day.
Terrific.
And then sort of in the middle of all of that, I went to my brother Bob and said, we're only doing one tournament, and this is kind of your thing. What do you think about maybe doing something else, another event? And he said, go right ahead. So he basically threw it right back at me, and so I came up with an idea for another event. And
was that when you found MSA or found
no,
so you
not
had
quite.
a few other things.
I had the event first in my head, what it was going to be. It was the Divine Wine Extravaganza. Think big. But I didn't actually have a beneficiary. I just had an idea for what we were going to do, and actually I was standing in Davison's middle school's outdoor basketball area and looking at their rusted backboards and their rims with no nets on them, and I thought, oh, this would make a pretty good beneficiary.
Schools always, yeah.
And so I called up their foundation, but nobody actually called me back. So in the meantime, a tenant of mine in San Francisco happened to have his daughter was going to Marin School of the Arts, and he was the proprietor of California Wine Merchant on Chestnut Street, and he said to me, why don't you consider Marin School of the Arts as your beneficiary?
What a great suggestion.
And he was the guy that was really getting all the wineries to come and do all this. So I was going to take his suggestion very seriously. And so I was invited up by Marin School of the Arts to go to the school and see what they did. And I was, very, very impressed by what they did. And so,
was that in the Mark Peabody days?
Yes, that was in the fairly early days. I think Marin School of the Arts was maybe 3 or 4 years old at that time. And the Harbor Point Charitable Foundation, has gone on and has done lots of other things and supported lots of local charities, mainly around youth and adult health. But this was the second major event that we were putting on. And it was kind of fun to put it together. And the first year that we did that, we did it right at Harbor Point. In the restaurant, and there were maybe 50, 60 people showed up, and MSA did a little dance and, maybe a song or two, and we raised $16,000. And
that's $16,000 they didn't have.
It was like pennies from heaven for them. They were thrilled, and then the next year I realized that venue, if this thing grew anymore, the venue was too small for any major growth. So I went over to the Ferrari dealership.
That's right, I remember that.
And I asked him if we could use, maybe the Maserati side of of that, and he said okay. And so the next year we used the Maserati side, and I think we raised like $24,000. And then the following year we used the Ferrari side and the Maserati side because it grew a bit. and I think we raised around 30 grand, and so we were moving along, kind of putzing along, kind of slow, but it was happening.
It was happening. There were people behind the scenes getting. Everybody learned. I remember.
Yes. And we tried, at that point, I realized that the Ferrari and Maserati dealership was going to be a little challenging because they have to move all their cars out. And if there's someone looking at a car, and this actually happened, that there was someone looking at a Ferrari when we were supposed to be setting up. And half an hour before we were opening to the public is when they actually were able to get the cars out. So we had to scramble.
Yeah.
And so I realized this isn't going to work in the long term. I don't want to deal with this again. So we went up to Keller Estates up on Lakeville Highway.
That was fantastic. I remember
It was a beautiful location, but it was just a little too far for my people and actually Marin School of the Arts. And when people are drinking wine, they don't want to drive very far, and we realized that. So that one was kind of a step back, but I mean, I think we might have raised 35, 40 grand. And during all this time, we were supplying all the food out of our restaurant at Harbor Point. And then that following year, I had the idea of, what if we made this a divine wine and food extravaganza? And I go ask a bunch of restaurants if they would each set up a table in whatever venue we choose. So we wound up choosing Unity in Hamilton.
That's right. And
that was a lovely venue inside and out for us. And I got maybe 8 restaurants to set up food, and including ours, did some food also. And so it took the major strain off of our restaurant and sort of spread the work among others and gave us a lot more variety. And we got a lot more people. And I think that year we jumped up from $40,000 to like $65,000.
That's great.
And then it grew after that, the next 3 or 4 years to about $100,000 that we were raising at each one of these events, which was a big factor for Marin School of the Arts at that time. I mean, they all these programs have limited budgets.
Arts are always the first to get cut.
Yeah.
Any kind of
exactly
anything. And how fulfilling has this been for you?
Well, it's been very, very exciting to me, but it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And both my brother had already stopped doing the tennis classic because we were spending $400,000 to put this program, this event on, and we were giving the charities 70, 80 grand. And it just seemed out of, and thousands of man hours to try to put this event on for not really that great of a result. We thought we were getting most of that result out of the gala, not out of the tennis tournament itself. And it was also very disruptive to our club to,
So if you had
we had to set it up for a week, and then we had the event for 3 or 4 days, and then we had to tear it back down for another week. So our club was disrupted for almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was hard on the club members, even though we got to see some great stars in doing that. So
you attracted some talent.
We
for
did.
Those. Yeah.
We did. And so at some point, Bob decided, let's just do the gala. And forget the tournament. So we did, and we were raising just as much money doing the gala. So and then eventually, after about 8 years of Divine Wine, I basically said, but both he and I decided we were just going to stop doing events and mostly just write grants out of our foundation.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, and the foundation had been populated by some inherited money, so we had a sufficient amount of money to do that sort of thing. And still be a big support to Celebrate Life, which was one of our major beneficiaries, and also to MSA and a dozen other local charities that we supported.
Terrific.
So without doing an event. But so we basically turned our events, there were 2 or 3 of them at the time, over to the charities. And the Divine Wine was the only one that actually survived. It's the only one that actually got picked up by the school, and they ran with it. And for the first year, I was very active on their board.
Yeah.
Guiding them as to the pitfalls. And then the second year, far less active, and then after that, not at all. They just took it from there. And
you've been happy with the way it's.
Oh, I've been thrilled. I mean, I've made some suggestions along the way that I think have been been important, including doing some improv, dance, singing, and acting events during the food portion, because mostly it was after the food that we did all the entertainment.
Right.
And so now we're doing some entertainment
During
the food too, which is
breaks
very
it up.
spontaneous,
Very fun.
Almost like a flash mob type stuff.
Oh, very fun.
And so they've grabbed that and ran with it, and now it's a even more fun than it ever has been. And so this last Divine Wine was just absolutely off the charts. They didn't go inside at Unity. They instead set up in the parking lot next to the outdoor gardens.
It's a beautiful location.
It was a great location in the outside parking lot. They, built a stage and put a decent sound system out there, and it didn't have the constrictions of the chapel that we were in before. So they had like 225 people come to the last one.
That's terrific.
And raised over $200,000, which
that is so good.
Brought
to hear.
tears to my eyes.
Absolutely. To be there to have the idea, and then have it grow like it has. And is it at MSA celebrating 20 years, right? So you've been involved 15?
I've been involved about 10, 15? About 12, maybe 12, 13. Yeah.
It's nice to see something like that come to fruition, and possibly even beyond your wildest thoughts. I mean,
so the latest thing that I brought to them, and the last time I met with them, was an idea that I'm hoping is you'll see the results of starting next year. It'll be sort of an internal result first, and then it'll be more external around Marin County later. And it was not an original thing by me at all, but we had funded a party for a mural that was being done for Marin City, underneath the freeway there. If you drive under the freeway there on the way from one part of the freeway to Bridgeway, you'll see some new color panels, and that's the beginning of a mural that's going to go up there.
Oh, great.
And all we did was fund the party, but the thought of mural just hit my head, and I thought, Marin School of the Arts could do murals.
Yeah.
What if they did a mural a year somewhere in Marin and signed it Marin School of the Arts? The kids would then be able to come to that mural for years afterwards and say, I had a part of that. I did the little gorilla over there, or whatever they're going to be able to say. They can come and touch it up whenever they want. And after 10 years, there would be 10 Marin School of the Arts murals somewhere in beautifying the county of Marin.
Mm-hmm.
So their art director was just all over the wall, because she said, now I don't have to think about my curriculum over the summer.
Now we have a project.
I'm going to do the mural each year. So, and I was willing to actually fund that, but when they raised this much money, I think I'm off the hook.
I think you are.
They raised enough to fund the mural every year.
So, and then somebody in the school can take over the details. I mean, do you have to go through the student? I mean, like city council, does they have to go through all that? But yet you're beautifying Marin. Why not?
Exactly. And you're putting Marin School of the Arts out there.
Out there, yeah.
Because it's just amazing that how few people actually really know about it.
I know.
And we experienced that a little bit at Harbor Point, because we're off the main road.
You're off that.
And people have lived in Tiburon for 50 years and do not know that we exist.
Yeah. And you're off Strawberry, but you're off the peninsula of Strawberry. Yeah. So
exactly.
It's like, where is it?
So I know what it feels like to do good stuff and nobody knows about you. So I think it's nice that we're going to get them out there a little bit with the mural idea.
I love that idea. And to intersect with all the different communities, which there's so much, would be wonderful. I love that idea, and I will make sure I am trying to get Michelle with MSA over here. I would love to talk to them more about ways we could support getting the word out, because it's so worthwhile.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, Harbor Point, what are the other foundations that you're charitable foundations that you're close to your heart?
The two biggest ones are Marin School of the Arts and To Celebrate Life, Breast Cancer Foundation. But we have they're probably our last grant giving. I think we had like 12 different groups that we gave to. One was called Young Imaginations. They teach dance at the like 5th or 6th grade level. Another one is Homeward Bound, which is, I think, a pretty well-known one. One of our favorites
is fabulous work.
Cirrus Project. And then Cirrus Project is an amazing project because they're bringing food to needy seniors and cancer patients and all that.
That's wonderful.
But the kids are cooking it. So they're getting kids from the high schools to cook the food. So this is a two-edged sword where they're teaching kids how to cook and they're giving food to seniors and people who can't, basically fend for themselves right now. So those are a couple of our big ones.
Did you notice any kind of a drop in activity during COVID and the shutdown, or did you learn how to just recreate your journey?
Well, we didn't go to the galas
right.
and didn't do that. But because we had already switched to a grant writing foundation, there was no shortage of people asking for money.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Right.
And it's so sad for us because, if we had our way, we would write everybody a check.
Right.
Because they're all worthwhile.
Yep.
So it is very hard to choose this one over that one. One of the things we do is we try to focus on Marin County.
Good.
Because we're a Marin County family. Our business is in Marin. And this is where we want to focus, most of our money. Yep. Though there are some things, there was a group that we just funded some money to that's in Oakland. And I'm trying to remember the name of them. But they as soon as gunshots happen in Oakland, they go to the family whose person was wounded or killed,
right.
and they console that family.
Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh. What a calling.
Oh,
that's
what
amazing.
A challenge.
Yeah,
so
100%.
So we do step out of Marin for special occasions like that.
Well, I will have to, anybody you think of that could use a little...
a boost,
a little promotion. I'd be happy to interview them and profile them because that's what we're all about over here. And
we'll definitely send some people your way.
Yeah, that would be great because we do have, there are obviously well-known, fabulous charities. We're trying to find those, the silver linings. And there's just so much good in this county,
and that's what we focus on too, Sandra. We don't give money to United Way and Red Cross, and that's just not our thing. It's the smaller charities doing the rolling up the sleeves, doing the work right here in Marin that we try to focus on, try to help.
That's great. Well, I am just so delighted to see you again. Harbor Point, I always knew you did a lot of great work. MSA is obviously close to my heart because my son graduated from there many years ago, and I love that they're also growing and providing such a bait. I honestly think MSA saves lives. I think
I do too.
Those kids that can come in and have a whole artistic, welcoming and be talented and I just have always loved it, and I'm just delighted when I love that they're reaching out to former board members like me and saying we're celebrating our 20th. Yeah,
come back.
Yeah.
I think creative kids can sometimes be isolated in their creativity because that's kind of all they want to do, and MSA does provide a team for them to join and be supported by and to support. So I do think it's real important. And then the next thing I'm working on, I think you had asked me about that. And I'm working with a neighbor of the studios, Charlie Goodman, right around the corner. And Charlie and I are working on getting a career technical education back into Terra Linda High.
That's terrific.
So it's a $1.6 million project. We've raised over $1 million so far. It is going to happen. We have enough to build the building we need to build and to staff it for the first year. So we just need the next $500,000 to fund the year 2 and year 3, and then we expect the county to take over from that point on. But,
and there's interested kids, I'm guessing. That is a skill, and it is wonderful. It's one of those that was cut, I guess, like anything else.
Yeah, in all the schools.
Unbelievable. Good for him.
But 25% of the kids that graduate in Marin County do not go to college. Most people don't realize that, even though the Marin parents really encourage college and don't even basically think of the trades as being that important, but they really are, to certainly the 25. And then there's a certain percentage of the ones that do go to college that don't finish. And those people also need skills when they drop out of college and need to get into the workforce. So we're hoping that this is going to kickstart something new and maybe help also. I mean, it helps the businesses here too, that if you try to get a contractor, try to get an electrician or a plumber these days, they're hard to find and they're super expensive and they're booked for weeks in advance.
Booked for a long time.
Hopefully this will begin the process of easing that logjam.
That's great. Absolutely. Oh, I love hearing about that. Well, I appreciate it. Can people reach out to you? Can I put that on our site where Harbor Point and?
Of course. We do have our website is hpgiving.org, and so people can look to that and see what we do. And outside donations are always welcome.
Okay, good.
We do have members of our board that are not members of our family.
Okay.
It started out as a kind of a family foundation. It's just kind of grown into more of a community foundation. It's still growing that way.
Okay.
With more people, contributing. As I say, we don't do the events anymore, so the money goes into a pool that's distributed every year, and that's wonderful. That's how we operate. That's how we roll, so to speak.
So good. Well, I've always respected you immensely for everything you do, and then I just knew that there was just this backbone of love with your approach with MSA in particular, but I love hearing about your other charitable foundation work that we'd love to shine a light on here too.
Great.
So we'll stay in touch.
Sandra, thank you.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
That's it for today. We'll be back with another interesting conversation as soon as possible. And please don't forget to contact us if you have anybody you'd like us to feature. That's it for now. Thanks.
Marinterviews, produced in partnership with Marin Arts, Marin Link, Truce, and D2ISF. Please join us on our mission. Nominate a person or program to be profiled either in studio, location, or Zoom. Sponsor a segment. We look forward to working with you.